welcome to Toward AGI.
For decades, general-purpose robots, well, they felt like pure science fiction, straight off the silver screen. But now, these visions are actually inching into our warehouses, our factories, even our hospitals. So what was once just a dream is quickly becoming a very real and, frankly, very urgent conversation. Today, we're taking a stack of cutting-edge research, industry reports, expert analyses, the works. We're going to unpack the immense promise, but also the very real pain points of general-purpose robotics and embodied AI. Our mission, let's cut through the buzz, give you a pragmatic, well-informed view, and maybe help you prepare for these future electronic coworkers.
Indeed. And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that we're moving beyond those simple, single-task robots. We're really talking about systems powered by embodied AI. Systems that can adapt, learn new motions, even follow complex verbal commands in dynamic environments, environments designed for humans. So this deep dive, it's not just about what they can do, but why this shift matters so profoundly, and crucially, what conditions are really needed for their massive value to actually emerge.
That's a powerful vision you're painting there, a really profound shift. To really get a handle on it, let's start with the basics. What exactly do we mean by general-purpose robots and embodied AI in this context? Because we're definitely not just talking about those old robotic arms on an assembly line anymore, are we?
Precisely. No, the key distinction really is adaptability. Unlike those older robots, these new systems aren't just performing one single pre-programmed task over and over. They're designed to flex, across multiple tasks in environments built for humans.
Yeah.
And they come in all sorts of forms. Humanoids, yeah, but also four-legged ones, wheeled robots. It's not just the human-like ones grabbing the headlines. The focus, as one source really emphasizes, isn't if they look human, but if they can adapt seamlessly to human spaces and tasks. And, maybe most importantly, if they can learn as they go.
Learn as they go, okay. It's one thing to define them, but why are these general-purpose robots suddenly such a hot topic right now? Is it just hype, or do our sources show a genuine massive surge in activity and investment?
Oh, it's definitely not just hype. Far from it. The sector has seen an absolute explosion of interest and investment. Funding for general-purpose robotics grew, get this, fivefold between 2022 and 2024.
Fivefold, wow.
Yeah, it's surpassing $1 billion annually. You've got startups like Figure AI, Skilled AI, Agility Robotics raising hundreds of millions each. Patent filings, they've surged by a 40% compound annual growth rate since 2022.
40% CAGR, that's huge.
It is. And governments are definitely taking notice too. China, for example, designated embodied AI a national priority. They anchored a massive $138 billion innovation fund.
Ooh.
Yeah. And look, this isn't just about, economic growth. It feels like a clear strategic declaration. It suggests a global race for AI supremacy, where physical embodiment is seen as a key frontier, something that could reshape future industries, maybe even military capabilities down the line.
That's an incredible amount of momentum. So what's truly driving this technological leap right now? What are the fundamental building blocks emerging so fast that we're seeing this kind of, frenzy?
Well, one major factor is the advancement of powerful AI foundation models. Think of them as the large pre-trained brains behind today's chatbots, right? But now they're being adapted for physical interaction. Specifically, we're talking about vision language action models, VLA model. So just like large language models enabled natural conversation for chatbots, these VLA models allow robots to interpret visual cues, follow spoken instructions, and execute really complex sequences of actions. And these models, especially when you pair them with multimodal sensors, cameras, microphones, maybe touch. They let robots learn just by observing humans without needing step-by-step programming.
That's a huge shift.
It's a massive shift from rigid coding, absolutely.
And it's not just the brain getting smarter, the body has to keep up too, right? The hardware side must be crucial.
Absolutely. Hardware breakthroughs in things like mobility and dexterity are critical. Robots are just getting more agile, more stable, more dexterous. Many can now handle unstructured tasks, like, say, lifting irregularly shaped items out of a bin, something that used to be really hard. And for navigating human-centric spaces, humanoid robots, even though they aren't always strictly necessary for every single task, they do offer a significant advantage because they can maneuver in environments like narrow hallways or use doorknobs without requiring companies to do costly workspace redesigns. They just fit into our world.
To fit into our world. But that level of agility, especially in human environments, it naturally brings up a critical question. What about safety? I assume our sources address the growing focus on making these new coworkers truly safe and collaborative.
They do, yeah. And it's a really critical area of progress. The evolution of cobots, robots designed specifically to work safely alongside people is really a testament to these advancements. Risks have fallen quite a bit due to improved sensor fusion, better perception models, things like programmable force limits so they don't accidentally crush something or someone. For instance, Agility Robotics Digit. That robot is already operating safely in some logistics centers. It demonstrates these advancements in real-world settings. So it shows the technology is maturing not just in capability, but also in, let's say, responsibility.
Okay, this idea of robots learning by doing it feels like more than just a technical innovation. It touches on some really deep questions about intelligence itself, doesn't it? One of our sources argues that physical embodiment is, quote, crucial for achieving artificial general intelligence, AGI. That's a pretty profound statement that intelligence isn't just in the brain, so to speak. How does having a physical form actually alter the fundamental cognitive process for an AI? What's happening differently than with, say, an AI just living in a data center?
Yeah, that's really the core theoretical underpinning here. It's a potentially revolutionary idea. The argument, and it builds on decades-old theories like embodied cognition and the extended mind, is that intelligence isn't just abstract computation happening in a brain or, a server rack. It actually emerges from the dynamic, the continuous interaction between brain, body, and environment.
Interaction.
Exactly. A physically embodied agent can perceive, it can experiment, it can learn through direct, unfiltered feedback from the real world.
Right.
And that process, that grounding in reality, could potentially lead to more robust, more generalizable, and maybe more deeply understood cognition.
So it's not just about executing commands. The robot is literally teaching itself through its physical experiences. Can you give us a concrete example? Like, how does this look in action?
Exactly. That's the idea. When an AI has a physical presence, it creates these natural feedback loops between action and perception. And those loops are vital for autonomous learning. We see two main types, basically. First, there's reinforcing or positive feedback. This amplifies useful behaviors. So each successful interaction, say picking up an object correctly, it increases the robot's competence, maybe spurs it to tackle more complex related tasks. Think of a robot practicing something over and over, and each success just reinforces its proficiency, leads to rapid gains.
Okay, practice makes perfect, even for robots.
Sort of, yeah. Then there's balancing or negative feedback. This corrects errors. It helps the robot adapt to physical constraints, preventing instability or damage. Like if a robot is trying to grip an object, a pressure sensor limit acts as negative feedback. It prevents it from squeezing too hard and breaking it.
Ah, okay. Learning boundaries.
Precisely. Learning its own physical boundaries. A really striking example comes from Agility Robotics Digit. We mentioned it earlier. In a recent demo, Digit got this open-ended voice command. Hey Digit, clean up this mess.
Just like that. Clean up this mess.
Just like that. No explicit step-by-step programming. Its internal large language model, LLM, interpreted the goal, and then it autonomously devised a sequence of actions, picking up scattered objects, sorting them, all within the robot's known physical capabilities. It shows an embodied AI system really thinking and acting autonomously in response to a complex human-level instruction.
That Digit example is genuinely impressive. Shows that autonomous learning in action. Are there other major projects or maybe different approaches building on this AI brain in a robot body concept, trying to achieve similar or maybe even greater levels of generalized behavior?
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot happening. Google DeepMind's Robotic Transformer 2, or T2.
RT2.
Yeah, it's a vision language action model. It's trained on, vast amounts of internet data and real robot experiences, a combination. And this dual training allows it to translate high-level concepts into generalized actions, even for objects it's never specifically seen before. It leverages that web-trained knowledge in the physical world.
Interesting. So it connects online knowledge to real-world action.
Exactly.
Okay, the potential feels almost limitless sometimes, but let's bring it back down to earth. Our sources also provide a pretty pragmatic look at the current limitations. These robots aren't exactly plug and play yet, are they?
Oh, far from it, no. Despite the hype and the genuinely rapid progress, there are substantial hurdles. Consider this just as a reality check. In a recent half marathon, specifically for humanoid robots, 21 of them ran. The fastest one took 2 hours and 40 minutes.
2 hours 40 for a half marathon.
Yeah. Compared to a human's sub 1 hour time, typically. Now, this isn't to dismiss their progress. That's still impressive engineering. But it underlines that while they're capable in controlled settings, they still have significant ground to cover to match human-level dynamic performance in unpredictable real-world scenarios.
Right. So what are some of the biggest technical challenges holding them back? What's preventing them from reaching that seamless integration level?
Well, several key areas really stand out in the sources. First, software and data. These foundation models, they still need massive amounts of task-specific physical interaction data. We're talking billions of examples, maybe from videos, definitely from simulations, or real-life robot trial and error, not just labeled images like older AI.
Billions. That's a staggering amount of data.
It is. The field is racing to build and scale simulation environments just to try and meet this colossal data demand. Second, hardware and power. Humanoid robots performing dynamic tasks like walking quickly or lifting heavy things require significant power. Currently, the best humanoids typically operate for maybe only 2 to 4 hours on conventional batteries.
Only 2 to 4 hours. That's less than a full industrial shift.
Exactly, and the recharging infrastructure for them is still pretty immature. You can't just plug them into any wall socket easily. And third, manipulation. This is a big one. The human hand has, what, up to 27 degrees of freedom? Allows for incredibly precise, delicate actions.
Yeah, tying shoes, peeling fruit.
Right. State-of-the-art robotic hands, like Sanctuary AIs, they have around 21 degrees of freedom, which is amazing, but still a more constrained range of motion. Tasks like tying shoelaces or, peeling a banana, they remain moonshot-level challenges. It really makes you appreciate the dexterity we humans take for granted.
It really does, like trying to do it with oven mitts on.
Exactly. And manipulation hardware is expensive and development is slow. Many components like high-precision actuators or tactile sensors are often proprietary, manufactured in limited volumes.
And beyond the tech itself, I imagine there are significant economic and organizational challenges too for companies trying to implement this.
Absolutely. The economics are tough right now. Manufacturing costs alone can range from $30,000 to maybe $150,000 per humanoid unit. And critical components, like these things called planetary roller screws for joints, they alone can cost up to $2,700 each. That can be like a third of the entire bill of materials.
Wow, just for one component type.
Yeah. So payback periods in early pilot projects often exceed 2 years, and maintenance costs can be high too, maybe up to $1,000 per repair if something complex breaks. For widespread adoption, these costs really need to come down significantly, and the returns on investment, the ROI, has to accelerate.
And then there's the crucial human element. How ready are organizations, and maybe more importantly, workforces, for these new colleagues, both practically and maybe psychologically?
That is a critical point and often underestimated. Companies face potential workforce resistance, understandably. There's also a lack of technical talent needed for operating and maintaining these complex robots. And there aren't really clear playbooks yet for scaling these pilot projects beyond just initial tests.
Right, how do you go from one cool demo to hundreds working reliably?
Exactly, and crucially, safety, ethics, regulatory frameworks. They're still kind of patchy. For example, a robot like Boston Dynamics Atlas, even at its current 180 pounds, if it malfunctions, it could cause serious injury.
Yeah, 180 pounds moving unexpectedly is dangerous.
Definitely. So without aligned leadership, clear safety guidelines, and established accountability, even the most promising pilot projects can just stall out.
It really feels like we're balancing this immense potential with some very significant practicalities. But this also brings up a fascinating debate you touched on earlier. Is embodiment, having a physical body, even strictly necessary for AGI? Some experts argue general intelligence might just emerge from pure computation and vast data alone, without needing a body to interact with the messy real world.
That's a key counterargument, yeah, and it's explicitly highlighted in our sources. It's an important perspective to consider. Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, for instance, he predicts transformative AI systems by 2026 that are, in his words, free of a physical embodiment. He likens them to a country of geniuses in a data center.
A country of geniuses in a data center. Quite the image.
It is. This perspective suggests that maybe advanced simulations or virtual environments could provide sufficient complexity for general intelligence to emerge on its own. However, proponents of embodiment, and there are many, would strongly argue back. They'd say that without the ground truth you get from real sensors, and without facing the inherent constraints of physics, a disembodied AGI might lack true understanding. It could potentially make physically impossible or unsafe plans simply because it's never had to deal with the friction and unpredictability of reality.
So it might not really know what works and what doesn't.
That's the concern. This is a very active and I think defining debate in the AI field right now. No easy answers yet.
Okay, even with all these challenges and these ongoing debates, the market potential for general purpose robotics seems undeniably massive. So, how do we get from where we are now with these limitations to that future where robots are truly integrated, effective parts of the workforce? Is there a roadmap?
Well, one of our sources actually provides a pretty fascinating roadmap. It's inspired by the levels used for autonomous driving, level 1, level 2 autonomy.
Like for self driving cars?
Exactly. But this is for embodied AGI. It outlines 5 levels, and they're defined by 4 core dimensions. Omnimodal capabilities, that means the ability to process and respond across all sorts of sensory inputs and outputs, not just text or vision. Then there's humanoid cognitive abilities, real-time responsiveness, and generalization across tasks.
Okay, a 5 level roadmap based on those dimensions. So, on that scale, where would you say most current embodied AI capabilities are positioned today?
Right now, most of the systems we're seeing are positioned somewhere between level 1 and level 2. Level 1, L1, is basically single task completion. Robots can reliably perform one single, well-defined task, like object grasping, but with pretty limited generalization to variations.
Got it. Basic, reliable task.
Right. Level 2, L2, is compositional task completion. Here, they can decompose a high-level instruction, like pick that up and cut it, into a sequence of simpler actions. They're more versatile, definitely, but still kind of bounded by predefined tasks and skill libraries they've been trained on. Systems like Figure AI's Helix 111 seem to be approaching this level.
Okay, linking simple tasks together.
Exactly. Now, level 3, L3, is conditional general-purpose task completion. This is really the next big frontier. At L3, robots could handle a much wider range of task categories and show substantial real-time responsiveness. They adapt dynamically to changes in the environment, though their performance on entirely novel tasks probably wouldn't be fully reliable yet. This level really requires comprehensive sensory input and output.
Level 3 sounds like a huge leap. What are the biggest gaps currently preventing us from reaching L3 and maybe pushing beyond it? What's needed to unlock that next level of capability?
Well, the challenges we discussed earlier, they directly map onto these gaps. We need, first, more comprehensive omnimodal capabilities, going way beyond just vision and text, including understanding human speech emotion, environmental audio cues, tactile feedback from touch sensors, and maybe generating real-time acoustic speech responses.
So, really understanding the whole environment through all senses.
Pretty much. Second, sufficient humanoid cognition. This means achieving higher-level reasoning, better conversational intelligence, and crucially, alignment with human values and intentions. For the higher levels, L4, L5, this includes things like self-awareness, understanding social context, procedural memory, knowing how to do things almost automatically, like us riding a bike, and memory reconsolidation.
Memory reconsolidation, what's that?
It's the ability to continuously learn and update knowledge from experience, rather than being static after the initial training phase ends. Constantly refining understanding.
Oh, okay. Lifelong learning, essentially.
Exactly. Third, true real-time responsiveness. Current systems often operate in what you could call a semi-duplex manner.
Semi-duplex. Like walkie-talkie.
Kind of, yeah. They process one instruction fully before maybe moving to the next. That really struggles in dynamic, fast-changing environments. We need genuinely multiplex processing, constant, simultaneous input and output across different modalities, more like a seamless human interaction. And fourth, robust generalization across task categories. Current models generalize pretty well across different environments for the same task, but they struggle to apply knowledge learned for one type of task to a vastly different one. This requires them to internalize physical world laws, causal reasoning, not just imitating patterns they've seen.
Wow, those are significant gaps. So, how are researchers proposing to bridge them? How do we actually build the robots of tomorrow? What are the new conceptual frameworks guiding this development?
Well, the proposed conceptual frameworks really focus on 2 key areas. First, omnimodal model structures. Architectures designed specifically for simultaneous streaming input and output. This allows for those rapid continuous responses needed for dynamic real-world conditions. Second, new training paradigms. Moving beyond the traditional pre-train, fine-tuned deploy model. Instead, embracing lifelong learning frameworks really inspired by human cognition, where models continuously update their internal states and memory based on new experiences. And importantly, incorporating physical-oriented training. This means training methods designed to help models internalize physical laws and causal effects, which should improve their generalization for truly open-ended tasks.
These conceptual frameworks sound promising, and it's good to hear we're seeing tangible progress too. For instance, companies like Pale Robotics, based in Barcelona, they've actually been working on embodied intelligence for over 2 decades now. They develop humanoid and mobile robots like Tiago Pro and Kangaroo Pro, and these are already being used in research and industry settings, assisting with things like elderly care, logistics, manufacturing. That's right. And they're even showcasing a live teleoperation trial with their Tiago Pro robot at Automatica 2025. Visitors can apparently directly control the robot's arms and movements in real time. That sounds like a direct glimpse into a future where humans and robots might collaborate with really seamless precision. It gives us a feel for what that partnership could actually look like.
That's a fantastic real-world example, yeah. That kind of hands-on interaction really demonstrates just how intuitive the control of these complex robotic systems can become. It certainly points towards future possibilities for things like remote work and physical jobs, specialized assistance for people with disabilities, and ultimately a much more fluid form of shared autonomy between humans and intelligent machines.
The path seems clearer now, even if it's still pretty complex. Okay, that was a truly insightful deep dive into general purpose robots and embodied AI. What really started as pure science fiction, maybe just decades ago, is rapidly becoming a pragmatic reality. It's driven by that surging investment we talked about, some truly impressive technological breakthroughs in both AI models and hardware, and a clear, albeit challenging, vision for the future.
Yeah, what really stands out to me is that delicate balance we kept coming back to between the immense promise, and it is immense, and the very real, often quite gritty challenges. The core idea, an AI mind truly integrated with a physical body, learning through continuous feedback. It's profoundly exciting because it hints at maybe a deeper, more robust form of intelligence altogether. But those hurdles and cost, dexterity, the sheer volume of data needed for physical interaction, and achieving effective human-robot integration, they're substantial. They'll require sustained, focused innovation.
So, what does this all mean for you listening? Whether you're leading a team, maybe prepping for a meeting on automation, or simply trying to stay ahead of the curve on AI, I think the key insight is this. The electronic coworker isn't some far off futuristic concept anymore. It's an evolving reality that demands proactive engagement now. The companies, the individuals who understand how to integrate these systems effectively, how to manage their current limitations wisely, and how to leverage their unique learning capabilities, they'll likely be the ones defining the next decade of work, and maybe beyond.
And this raises, I think, a really important question for all of us to consider as we move forward. As these embodied AI systems gain more human-like capabilities, as they learn continuously from their interactions with our world, what new forms of intelligence might emerge? Forms that perhaps we can't yet fully anticipate? And maybe just as importantly, how will our own roles, and indeed our fundamental understanding of what intelligence is, evolve in response to having these autonomous learning entities right there beside us in the workplace and maybe eventually everywhere else?
A truly provocative thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you're feeling a little more well-informed and perhaps a lot more curious about the incredible and complex future of embodied AI. Until next time.